Hi, I'm Sam from the DigitMe2 team at UCLan, and this is a short video on overall equipment effectiveness.
This is the second of two videos on OEE. In the first, we learnt about the basics of OEE and what it is. In part two, I'm going to go through how the DigitMe2 team can help you start measuring OEE in a semi-automated way without any major financial investment or any crazy changes in the process. And this will be using the DigitMe2 OEE software, which is open source, available on GitHub. This has been developed by the DigitMe2 team after working with many manufacturers, some of which measured OEE manually, maybe producing like a weekly report, something like that, but none of them had any real automation involved. A lot of these manufacturers required a smarter solution, but they couldn't really justify the large expenditures associated with a fully integrated solution like this. So we made this software which acts as a prototype, so it'll demonstrate the possibilities of adopting a smarter OEE monitoring solution, and once you've seen the benefits, you might want to then look into a proper fully fledged solution. Our software is cheap to install and it's accessed mostly through a web browser, so that's like Internet Explorer or Chrome. It can be integrated with existing company infrastructure, so if you have your own server and your own network already set up, the software can be installed on that server and accessed through the Wi-Fi. If you don't have that set up, or if you prefer the system to be separate, it can be run on its own network with a dedicated router running on its own hardware. For this, we'd usually use something like a Raspberry Pi, which is a small credit card sized computer, costs around £50. And then we're taking data from multiple sources. Some of these are manual, some of these are automatic, and then we output all this data in the form of useful OEE graphs and plenty of other graphs and live data showing the status of the machine, whether it's up or down. If you qualify for funded support with the DigitMe2 program, we can help you get this software up and running, and we can also tailor features to your requirements. So we can add a few inputs from your specific setup, maybe from a database or even Excel files in extreme cases. Or we could look at additional outputs. You might want certain graphs to display on a TV, on the manufacturing floor, anything like that. Right, so as we learnt in part one, to calculate OEE, we need three other figures. That's availability, performance, and quality. And then we combine these to create our final OEE figure. Performance and quality are relatively simple to incorporate because we just need the number of parts created, the number of parts rejected, and the number of parts expected. And I'll assume that these are already being recorded in one way or another as part of your standard process. If you don't know how many parts to expect from a machine over a specific time frame, you're going to need to calculate the maximum theoretical output using the known cycle time of the machine, or you can observe it in a perfect run and sort of work out how many you'd expect. If you've already got this data in a structured database, that's great. We'll be able to work with you and pull this data automatically and get it into the OEE calculation. But if not, don't worry. We can enter the data manually through tablets supplied to the operators, which they just simply enter in at the end or at the start of a shift. If this repeats a step in your process and you're worrying about giving them too much work to do, we can work with you to use this data recorded by the tablet in your existing data. So if that's paper, we can give you a printout or Excel exports or whatever works for you. Calculating the availability is a bit trickier because we'll need the scheduled working hours for each machine as well as the uptime and the downtime. Now, scheduled hours can be set quite simply just through the web interface. You can give it a set schedule for a day and you can do that per machine or per group of machines. But uptime is going to be a bit more difficult. But we've got a number of ways to do it and we'll work with you to find the best way. That could include an automated method by monitoring the machine with small devices, or we can do this manually using tablets located by the machine so the operator can use them simply. With that said, let's have a look at the software. Okay, so what I have here is just a normal PC running Windows, and I'm using a browser, Firefox in this example, to connect to the software. The software, you log in with a username, password, and I'm logged in as an administrator now. This isn't the interface you would use daily entering information. That's different on a tablet, which we'll look at later. This is what you'd use to set it up. And I'll run you through it so you can see what sort of settings you'll need. The users are all controlled by here. You can add ones and you control the passwords. The schedule controls when a machine is available. So that's in the availability calculation of the OEE. to calculate your planned production time. That's done automatically by this software. The machines are any machine you would want to calculate OEE for. You would put the name, this would be the tablet that's controlling it, and you give it a schedule and different workflows depending on what sort of workflow this machine had. I'll go into that later. The groups are used to just keep categorization for the machines. So you might want to put it based on what sort of machines they are or where they're located in your factory, and it just helps with making graphs and things like that. And the activity codes, as far as the OEE is concerned, it only cares about up and down, but you might be more interested. You might want to know what sort of downtime you have so you can start tackling those issues. So this just allows you to pick different types of downtime so that you can then see it in your reports later. When it comes to extracting data from this software, this is done through the same web interface, through the data tab, and this presents you with a few options of different charts or tables or graphs you want to download. Generally, we'd make these to your specifications, but I will just run through a few examples of ones we've made for other companies. This is the most simple, a table showing you all the jobs done. You can pick between the dates, and it's going to print out a table of all the jobs done on those dates. Quite simple. It also gives you the option of downloading it as an Excel or CSV. It can create PDFs, and there's a few more options there as well if you have those requirements. As for the graphs, there's a Gantt chart example here I'll bring, which is just shows you a Gantt chart of the activity of a few machines, so you can quickly look at a glance. The green showing up, the red showing down, so you can just quickly see. And this does give the option of downloading it as a picture. And any of these graphs can be used as a dashboard display, so that would be sent to a normal TV, and that could be displayed on the factory floor or something like that, continuously refreshing for some quick information. And with that done, I'll show how an operator would be interacting with the software, and that's through a tablet. This is a standard Android tablet with the app already loaded onto it, and it's connected to the same network as the server. So at the top, it tells you which machine this device is assigned to. The operator logs in with their ID and the PIN, and then it immediately gives you the option to start a new job. So it keeps this simple. This particular workflow asks for a job number, a runtime, and a quantity. This can be changed if you want it to record additional data. And once that's entered, it immediately starts the job and goes to uptime. This can be changed. If there's a quality issue, for example, you can set it to quality issue. The screen changes color, so it's immediately visible from afar. And this is also reflected in the software as well. You'll see this update immediately on any dashboards or anything like that. Once you're finished, you tap to end the job, and it requests more data from you. In this case, we want the scrap. And it finishes the job, and it's ready to start a new one. If you want a different workflow, the example just shown was a quite simple one. You start a job, it requests how much quantity you're going to make, and then it requests the scrap at the end. If you wanted that different, for example, some might have a setting phase when the machine gets set, or they might want to record notes every time the downtime starts, then we can set up a different workflow for you. And these are set per machine as well, so you would set that here with a different workflow type. And that covers most of the basics of this software. If you have any more questions, feel free to contact the DigitMe2 team or just leave a comment on this video. Thanks for watching, and see you later.